Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, Mor Yelvington, your host. I am so honored to have the beautiful Angie here with me today. Hey, hi, Angie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
Me too. I'm really excited for this juicy conversation. The minute we dive in, you'll know why. But I've been really wanting to have an oil expert part of my show to share with you some nuggets. So I'm excited for this conversation. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do in the world?
Yeah, so I'm Angie Weber. I am the owner of the Parent Toolbox. I'm a parent coach. Started out specifically just oil education and holistic practices because I think it's really important that we start learning how to be proactive with our health, especially as women and moms. And yeah, I developed the calm approach to confident parenting. And a lot of what I talk about are different tools and strategies, including holistic options like essential oils to help create some more calm in our house. And I have been married we celebrated 12 years recently, and we have almost 10-year-old twins. So stuff can get a little busy around here.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds crazy. So what set you on the journey to become a calm parent, quote unquote?
Yeah, so it kind of was after my own healing journey. I think I was the typical mom. I was stressed out all of the time, and I just assumed this is what motherhood should be, right? Because we hear that all the time, like, oh, you're never going to get any sleep. You're busy all the time. You're never going to have a life. And I was stuck in that for a long time, and that definitely took a toll on my relationship with my husband, especially in the intimacy area as well. And so I went through some personal trauma at the beginning of 2020 before the pandemic hit. So that was like an extra cherry on top. And I learned more about mental health and our emotions and things like that. And it pairs so well with holistic options, which is great. But as I started incorporating that into my holistic practice, I was hearing from moms all the time, like, oh my gosh, why are we not talking about this? Why do we not know about this? Why are we not teaching our kids about this? And I get it all of the time from empty nesters who say, gosh, I really wish I had these tools when my kids were younger. They probably think all I did was yell when they were children. So that's kind of what set me off on this path of I just saw how well the tools worked for myself and my home and for my relationship with my husband and for the relationship with my kids that I knew this information had to be out there. So I pivoted and I rebranded as the Parent Toolbox, and I've been helping parents and families become more calm ever since.
I love that so much. So can you share maybe a few tools with us that we can start implementing to maybe bring the drive back into our bedroom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely we're going to get to the essential oil stuff, but I think one piece that's really important is that we start really tuning into our bodies again. A lot of us grew up hearing things like, don't be upset about that. It's not a big deal. Why are you crying? Don't get angry. And from a young age, that kind of had us feeling like, oh, shoot, what we're feeling is wrong. So we would shove it down and we would disconnect. And so when those feelings come up, even as adults, it's really uncomfortable and we don't know what to do with it. And we can't expect our kids to be able to express their emotions and identify them in correct ways if we as adults don't even know how to do that. So, as I mentioned before, a lot of us moms are stuck in our fight or flight. When we're in our fight or flight, really the last thing we feel is sexy because we don't have much capacity for it. We're kind of at our limit, and then we get extremely stressed, which stress plays a huge toll on our body in so many different ways, especially our sex drive. And so we really need to start getting in tune with our body again and understanding when those emotions are coming up. So what I like to do a lot of my teaching based on is called the window of tolerance, which was developed by Dan Siegel. He's a great expert on it. So you can definitely have your viewers go take a look at some YouTube videos if they want to learn more. But in the simplest terms, if we're standing in front of a window super calm, that's where we're in our sweet spot of emotions. We're able to communicate, we're able to give, we're able to receive. And there's things throughout the day that maybe are not going to have us stay like right at the sweet spot. You know, our kids might spill their milk in the morning, or our husband or partner forgot to take out the trash, and those kind of things might, bump us a little bit, but mostly we're going to stay in that sweet spot. But it's when we're getting into our high extremes, like our high activation, which is our fight or flight, or our low activation, which is our freeze mode. That's where we really want to start tuning into our body and figuring out what is sending me into these areas so that I can get back to that sweet spot. So I work a lot with parents on identifying, like, what are your body sensations? Where is it showing up in your body? What are your body movements? What parts of your bodies need to move or maybe can't move? What are our thoughts, and what type of thoughts are they coming in? And also, what's the pace of them? Because I think we've all been there before, where like maybe our partner is ready to get intimate and we're like going through our grocery list in our head because that's all we can think about, right? And then we want to look at our five senses. Are there any senses that are heightened or dulled? Maybe when you're in your fight or flight, the thought of physical touch just sends you over the edge because you're like, I've had kids on me all day. The last thing I want you to do is try rub my back to lead into something else. And then we also want to start identifying what emotions are we having, like actually naming them, because sometimes we can mask our emotion. So let's say that we're not feeling sexy, we're not feeling like we want to be intimate, and our partner is trying to make advances, and we end up projecting anger because we're at that fight or flight mode. We're so at capacity that we can't even think about that right now. So they may think that we're being angry in the moment, but really at the core of it, it could be that we are just so extremely overwhelmed and we don't know how to express it the right way. So that's one huge thing, is how can we get back to that sweet spot, but also start really paying attention to the cues our body's giving us so that we can really make a plan to get back to that sweet spot more effectively. And then again, being proactive with our health is a huge tool, using holistic options. I personally got into it because I started understanding all the toxins we were bringing into our home. And I think I started really digging into them when my kids were about 1 year old. And I really just wanted to be able to teach them different ways to approach their health. But then I started understanding, as women, again, we need to make sure that we're keeping our hormone of stress, or stress hormone, at the, down low, because usually it's so high, and that again can have drastic effects on our body. So we can use natural and holistic options in order to really help us get into a better framework of health. So everything in our body, especially our nervous system, is working all together. And that was a whole lot that I just threw at you.
It's true, but every point that you made, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So I feel like so many women and moms listening are just like, you're on the money. You're on the money. So, okay, let's dissect it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, what holistically, and I do want to go down the oil route because I feel like that's something that we can dive into pretty quickly, right? Anybody can go and buy an oil if they know a little bit more about that, versus as someone that experienced trauma, that takes a little bit more work to really start identifying.
Yeah.
So it's almost like what I realized, right? A lot of my mom friends, they dab into the oils, and that's kind of where they'll stay a little bit, maybe more organic food, less toxins in the body, like less toxins in the products that they buy. They'll stay in that area before someone will dive deep into the actual healing work and uncovering and unmasking what it is that's really triggering us. So let's start with level one.
Yeah.
Level
Yeah.
one. So I'm curious, like you, like how did you get into oils? How did they help you? What did it do for you in your life?
Yeah, so honestly, the main reason I got into essential oils is because when I was pregnant with twins, my husband and I took a class called the Bradley Method, which was based all on natural birth, which I know sounds crazy to some people, but I do not like needles. So I was trying anything and everything to avoid an epidural. And one of the girls in the class had mentioned, hey, I heard essential oils can really work. And again, at this point, I was like, I will stand on my head as long as it means I don't need a needle in my back. And so I ended up getting some oils. And through our delivery, I think I was in labor for like I don't even know, a long time, like over 24 hours. And my sweet husband, he kept running back and forth, filling up the diffuser with this oil that we had had. It was from a different company than what I use now. And I had nurses stopping into the room being like, "Hey, we're not working with you, but everyone keeps talking about your room, so we just had to come and smell." And meanwhile, I'm like on the bed laboring, can't keep anything down. I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to the party, right?" And so they worked really, really well. But then we got home and I knew that they worked, but we got home and we had to get like part of this new routine. Like, how are we going to raise these babies? How am I going to take a shower once in a while? How am I going to take care of me at all when I'm trying to keep them alive? And so we went back to our, everyday thing. And it wasn't until about a year later that someone approached me about doTERRA essential oils. And I thought, you know what? I know that they work. I'm learning more about toxins. And again, it was really important for me to help my kids be proactive since we live in such a reactive society. So I just started using them for our own personal house and started realizing that the more consistent we were with them, all of a sudden we didn't have any more sick days. And I was like, holy cow, like this is amazing. Like we're supporting our body in this natural way. And then I started teaching classes because I wanted a hobby outside of the house and I wanted my husband to have to stay home with the kids. So from there, I just really enjoyed educating people about why we use oils. They're natural, they're safe, why that they work. That's the coolest part, is that when even just smelling an essential oil, it works with our olfactory bulb in our nose, which sends signals to the part of our brain that deals with our moods and emotion. That's why aromatherapy has been around for so long and it's so popular, is because literally within seconds, you can change your feelings or your mood based on just a smell of an oil, which is so cool, I think. And it's safe and natural, and it's a healthy coping skill versus a survival coping skill that a lot of us moms go to, which we could talk all about the mommy wine culture. And instead, it's a safe, natural way that you can also teach your kids too. So it kind of just evolved from there.
I love that. So maybe we can dive a little bit more. I know a lot of women use that, the headache excuse, the migraine excuse to not have sex. So is there an oil that's good for that?
For headaches or for wanting to have sex? Because both.
Oh, we should do both. We should do both. We should do one for migraines and headaches. So you have no more excuses. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and again, I think when it comes to that whole like excuse of a migraine or a headache, it's again, most of the time it's because we're in our fight or flight and we don't know how to get out of it. So we're so stressed. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't feel sexy after having a baby. I mean, I'm 10 years past and I'm still like, oh man, my body did not used to look like this, and I don't think it's ever going back. However, there are a lot of different oils, especially when it comes. So if we're talking about head tension, if I am being compliant and correct with my wording. There are a couple different options you can use. You can use peppermint. That is an amazing one to help reduce the tension. You can just put it along your pulse points, or wherever, like on your hairline, that you're feeling the tension. You do want to be careful though, because yes, they are natural, but we still want to use common sense. We're never going to put a drop in our eye or up our nose or in our ear canal. But we do want to keep it, close to our hairline, because if you're using doTERRA's peppermint, it's actually one drop is equivalent to 28 cups of peppermint tea. So it's strong. You don't have to use a lot. The other really good one is frankincense. And there's a big joke in the oil community: when in doubt, use frank, because it's the king of all oils. And so there is a process that you can do called thumb printing, which you put a drop of frankincense on your thumb. I personally like to add a drop of peppermint on top of it because it kills the frankincense flavor. And then you push it up to the roof of your mouth for about 30 seconds and then release and repeat if needed. Now, if we're not actually dealing with head tension, if it is just that we are stressed out and not in the mood, we can get in the mood in a few different ways. Finding oils that help release your stress or bring your stress down is super important. So one of my favorite ones personally is it's jasmine. And I learned, and I think this is just a good comparison, is that when we're feeling really closed off and tight and maybe we're stressed, we kind of feel like we're huddled in a ball. When we smell jasmine, either out of the bottle or by applying it to our pulse points or even our wrist, or just taking a few deep breaths in, it helps us open up just like the petals of the flower. So it's
Mm.
really good at helping us kind of come out of our shell. Now, there's so many other oils that you can use for stress too. We hear about lavender all the time, right? That's a relaxing oil. There's a specific one to doTERRA called Adaptive, which was created specifically for stress. There's so many options. There's another one called Neroli, which I use a lot of times for stress. So it really depends on you and what you need. I'm not going to say that one drop of lavender is going to fix all of your problems. It is definitely a part of this self-care routine and the consistency, right? It's just like if we want to lose weight, we can't go to the gym one time and just expect that we're going to lose 50 pounds the next day, although I wish we did. So we want to use it consistently, and you're going to find yourself drawn to different oils based on what your emotions are at the time. There's another one called Console, which is really great to kind of just help bring a little bit more comfort to us. So again, we can open up. And then if you're looking for ones to spice up the bedroom, there is one called Passion, and that is the Passion blend. And it works really well. It's kind of like a spicy aroma. So my suggestion is to start your diffuser for about 20 minutes before you think you're going to have bedroom time so that the whole aroma fills up the room. So again, you can kind of walk into it and get that sense right away. And there's a lot of DIY things out there too that you can look up to make some special lotions or potions for you and your partner as well. And again, using common sense, we don't want to put in any areas that it shouldn't be. However, it can be a really great tool to connect you and your partner.
And you can put it on your body though, right? Would you suggest putting it on your body or just putting it in your diffuser if you're using it to enhance your sexual energy?
Yeah, you can definitely put it on your body. Now, there are some oils that are like lavender, for example, that's a pretty calm oil, so you can put it on directly. I always encourage people to use what's a carrier oil. So, one of the most common ones is going to be fractionated coconut oil. So, if you get the big tub from Costco of coconut oil, it's pretty much the same thing, but they take a protein out so that it stays in liquid form. But the reason it's so powerful is because when we initially put an oil on our skin, we naturally deflect some of it. But when we use the carrier oil, it gets incorporated into it. So it actually helps get in our system faster and more effectively. So, A, it's working faster and you're not having to use that much. Because I think a lot of times when people think about natural products, they're like, I just have to dump this whole bottle on me. You don't. You only need a couple drops. So it can last you a long time and multiple bedroom trips if needed. So, yes, you can definitely use it on your skin. When people start using oils, the easiest way is to use them aromatically so they can get used to them, but most of them are definitely safe to apply to your body.
I love that. Have you played with any kind of bedroom concussions or concussions for uplifting your mood when you want to get in the mood at all?
Most of the time it's been passion. So it's a couple drops in my hands and then, take a couple deep breaths if I'm feeling maybe not super into it during the day, but I know that, maybe my partner has hinted at it. I'll apply it as my perfume just to help to get those, hormones activated. You can also use things like ylang ylang is another one that can promote it or promote those feelings. So I will say that I haven't played with too many like concoctions to use on both me and my partner, but I definitely know people who have, and they say it works well.
I love that. Okay, this is so nice. I love it. Okay, so if anybody wants to find more about you, about what you do, where to find the oils, more about the oils, where can they do that?
Yeah, they can go to my website, theparenttoolbox.info. And if they go under tools, they're going to find a lot of different options for support and health in your help in your parenting journey. However, there also is an option to learn more about essential oils and to get a free sample pack if you're interested in trying them out in your own home.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I feel like all of us are going to go get some passion and get it on tonight after this conversation. And
Let's
if
hope
you don't,
so.
we all need it. Well, thank you so much, Angie, for being here. This was such an enlightening conversation and light-hearted. I love the energy. And for you listening, I hope you go check this out because I myself have used essential oils for a very long time, and it definitely has changed the energy in my house, the health of my children, my mental health. It's a great natural way to add support to your body and to your system and to your environment with no harsh chemicals. So I highly recommend checking it out. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you and all your knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I will tune in with you again next week with Mom Sock Sex. Have a beautiful weekend.